76 years old, and I spent the last 50 years working as a bank manager. I taught hundreds of people how to protect their money, how to spot scams, how to check every document before signing. I was the man families sought for financial advice. The man who never made mistakes with money. The man who built a solid estate of 800,000 reais over 5 decades of discipline and sacrifice. And now, sitting in this empty room at the bank where I worked for 30 years, looking at the statement trembling in my hands, I realize I was the biggest fool of all. Because the person who destroyed me wasn't a stranger, wasn't an internet scammer, wasn't a fake financial advisor. It was my daughter, my only daughter, the little girl I carried on my shoulders, the woman I trusted with my power of attorney when I started having difficulties going to the bank alone, the person who swore to protect me. She took everything, every cent I saved, every sacrifice I made. 50 years of work disappeared in 18 months. And the worst part? I signed the papers that allowed it. I put the gun in her hands and smiled while she pointed it at my head. The bank manager is looking at me with that expression I know well. It's the same expression I used to make when I attended elderly clients who discovered too late that they'd been robbed by their own children. Pity mixed with discomfort. How didn't you notice sooner? Is the question hanging in the air, unspoken but impossible to ignore. I'll tell you how I didn't notice. I'll tell you how one of the most careful people with money you'd ever meet was systematically plundered by their own flesh and blood. And if you have elderly parents, or if you're aging yourself, you need to hear every word of this story. Because this can happen to anyone. It happened to me. I'm 76 years old, and I spent the last 50 years working as a bank manager. I taught hundreds of people my wife Helena died 4 years ago. Pancreatic cancer. Fast and brutal. 42 years of marriage ended in 6 months of hospitals, chemotherapy, and goodbyes that never felt sufficient. When she left, she took with her the structure of my life. The house became too big. The silence became too heavy. Days dragged without purpose. Claudia, my daughter, showed up at the funeral with her husband and 2 teenage children. She cried appropriately, said the right words, promised to take care of me. And in the first months after Helena's death, she actually did care. Called 3 times a week, visited on Sundays, brought the grandchildren to brighten the empty house. I was grateful, vulnerable and grateful. When you lose the person you shared half your life with, you drift. You need anchors. Claudia was my anchor. I didn't question, didn't suspect. Why would I suspect my own daughter? 6 months after the funeral, she arrived with a sensible proposal. Dad, you're getting more forgetful. Yesterday you called me twice to ask the same thing. What if you forget to pay an important bill? What if someone tries to scam you? She was right. I was forgetful. Loneliness and depression were affecting my memory. Small things, but noticeable. Let me handle your finances, she suggested with a gentle smile. You don't need to worry about bills, statements, investments. I'll take care of everything. You just enjoy your retirement, travel, rest. You deserve it after so much work. It made sense. I was tired. Tired of everything. Of waking up alone. Of cooking for one. Of making decisions. Handing over financial responsibilities to Claudia seemed like relief. We went to the notary on a Thursday morning. She'd already prepared the documents. Broad and irrevocable power of attorney, allowing her to move my accounts, sell my assets, make financial decisions in my name. The notary asked if I was sure, if I understood what I was signing. I looked at Claudia, who was holding my hand and smiling with those eyes that always reminded me of Helena. "I'm sure," I answered. "She's my daughter. I trust her with my life." I signed. The notary stamped, and in that moment, unknowingly, I handed total control of my life to someone about to destroy me. The first weeks were normal. Claudia took over paying bills, organized my statements, showed me monthly summaries of expenses and investments. Everything seemed in order. I felt relieved not having to deal with paperwork, could focus on other things, on trying to rebuild a routine without Helena. Then the subtle changes began. Claudia suggested I cancel the premium health plan Helena and I had for 20 years. "It's too expensive, Dad. 15,000 a year. You're healthy. We can get cheaper insurance." I hesitated, but she insisted it would be more economical. We cancelled, got basic insurance that cost a third of the price. Then came the suggestion to sell the car. "You barely leave the house, Dad, and driving at your age is dangerous. Let's sell it, and when you need a ride, I'll take you, or you can call an Uber." Made sense. I really drove little. The car sat in the garage for weeks, unused. We sold it for 40,000 reais. Claudia said she deposited the money in my savings account. She started managing even my grocery shopping. "Dad, you're spending too much on food. Make a list of what you need and I'll shop at the wholesale store. It's cheaper." I obeyed, made lists. She brought bags. I thanked her, never checked prices, never questioned. My monthly allowance also changed. Before, I had free access to my account. After the power of attorney, Claudia started giving me 3,000 reais in cash per month for personal expenses. She said it was so I wouldn't worry about going to the bank, using cards, managing balances. "It's more practical this way, Dad. You have your cash, spend it on whatever you want, no bureaucracy." 3,000 seemed reasonable. I didn't go out much, didn't have big expenses, accepted without questioning. After all, the rest of my estate was safe, invested, growing. Or that's what I thought. The first crack in the facade appeared 8 months after the power of attorney. I had scheduled an appointment with a private cardiologist, a doctor who'd been treating me for 15 years. When I went to pay, my card was declined. Embarrassed, I asked to reschedule. Called Claudia as soon as I left the office. "Dad, your card is blocked because there were some strange transactions. I blocked it for security," she explained in that calm voice she used for everything. "I'll fix it tomorrow. How much is the appointment? I'll transfer it." She transferred 800 reais the same day. Problem solved. But a seed of doubt was planted. I started paying more attention. Noticed that Claudia always deflected when I asked about investments. "Everything's fine, Dad. Yielding nicely." But didn't show numbers. Didn't give me access to online statements as promised. "The system is complicated. Better if I print and bring them personally," she'd say. Except she never brought them. I tried accessing my internet banking. My password didn't work. Called the bank. They informed me the password had been recently changed. By order of the legal proxy, Claudia. I asked to reset it. They told me I'd need her authorization since she had the total power of attorney. I felt a tightness in my chest, a feeling of claustrophobia. I was being locked out of my own financial life. Took a deep breath. She's your daughter, I told myself. Must be a misunderstanding. Must be a reasonable explanation. But the discomfort persisted. One night I woke at 3 in the morning with my mind racing. Went to the office I barely used anymore and searched for old documents. Found a bank statement from 2 years ago, from before Helena's death. My checking account balance was 43,000 rees. My investments totaled 720,000. Total 763,000 rees. I tried calculating how much I should have now, with the car sale plus 40,000. With conservative investment returns, about 60,000 in 2 years. Should have close to 860,000 rees. But I had no access to any statement to confirm. No way to verify. I was completely blind. The next day, I went to the bank, the same bank where I worked 30 years. Explained my situation to the manager, a young man who knew my history. Asked for access to my statements. He checked the system and made a strange face. Mr. Roberto, the system shows that Mrs. Claudia has total power of attorney and requested privacy on the account information. You need her written authorization for me to provide any documents. But it's my account, I protested, feeling my voice shake. My money, my name. How can I need someone else's authorization? The manager shifted uncomfortably in his chair. I understand, sir, but legally, when there's irrevocable power of attorney with these clauses, the proxy has total control. It's a delicate situation. I left the bank stunned, walked blocks aimlessly, trying to process what was happening. I'd become a stranger in my own life. More than that, I'd become a hostage of my own daughter. Got home and called Claudia. Tried to keep my voice steady. I need to see the statements, all of them. Accounts, investments, everything. There was a long pause. Dad, are you okay? Why this nervousness? She asked. And for the first time I detected something in her voice. It wasn't concern. It was calculation. I just want to see my statements. It's a simple request. Another pause. Of course, Dad. I'll print everything and bring it this weekend. No problem. But the weekend came and she showed up with excuses. The system was down. The printer broke. Forgot them at the office. Always some excuse. And then, on a Tuesday afternoon, I received a call that would change everything. It was the accountant who'd handled my income tax for 20 years. Mr. Tischender, Roberto, I need to talk to you urgently. It's about your declaration this year. Very strange transactions appeared. I met with the accountant, Mr. Mario, at a bakery near his house. He arrived with a folder of documents and the most serious expression I'd ever seen on his face. We sat in a discreet corner. He opened the folder and started showing me papers. I got these documents through the Federal Revenue to do your declaration. You authorized your daughter to be your legal representative in the system, so she had to provide information. He pointed to numbers on official papers. Mr. Roberto, in the last 18 months, transactions of 640,000 reais were made from your account. I felt my blood freeze. What do you mean? Where did this money go? Mr. Mario went page by page. Transfers to your daughter's account. Sales of investments. Withdrawals of applications. Everything authorized by the power of attorney. Everything legal. But, Mr. Roberto, did you authorize this? Did you know? I couldn't speak. My throat was closed. 640,000 reais. More than 3/4 of my estate. Gone. Stolen. By my own daughter. Mr. Mario continued. voice low and heavy. "There's more. She sold the stocks you had from the company where you worked. They were valued stocks, Mr. Roberto. You had 200,000 reais in stocks. She sold them for 160,000, below market value, and the money went to her account. She took everything in cash," I murmured, the reality finally sinking in. The allowances she gave me, the 3,000 reais monthly. It was my own money. She took from my estate and gave me back crumbs, making me feel grateful. Mr. Mario nodded sadly. "And there's something even worse. She put your house as collateral for a 200,000 reais loan she took in your name. If it's not paid, the bank can take your house." The world spun, had to hold onto the table not to fall from the chair. My house. The house where I raised my daughter, where I lived with Helena for 40 years, where every room held memories. Claudia had put everything at risk, and I didn't even know about this loan, hadn't signed anything, but the power of attorney allowed it. The damned power of attorney I signed, trusting her. "What do?" I asked, and my voice came out broken, of a defeated old man. "How do I get my money back? How do I take this power of attorney away from her?" Mr. Mario took a deep breath. "It's going to be difficult. Irrevocable power of attorney can only be cancelled with a lawsuit. And even if you win, recovering the money she already spent. If she spent it all, Mr. Roberto, there might be nothing to recover. Spent." The word echoed in my mind. 640,000 reais. 50 years of work spent. Why? On what? Where did so much money go? I needed answers, needed to confront her. But I was afraid. Afraid of the truth. Afraid to look into my daughter's eyes and see a stranger. A thief. A traitor. Got home and spent the night awake. Went over every conversation, every interaction with Claudia since Helena's death. The signs were all there. The rush to make the power of attorney, the progressive isolation from my finances, the control over every aspect of my life. It wasn't care. It was strategy. She had planned this, waited for Helena to die, caught me vulnerable, and executed a plan. The next day, I showed up unannounced at Claudia's house. It was mid-morning. Her husband was at work, the kids at school. She opened the door in pajamas, surprised. "Dad, what are you doing here?" I entered without waiting for an invitation. Noticed immediately. The remodeled living room. New, expensive furniture. A huge TV on the wall. Walked to the kitchen. Latest generation appliances. Everything new. Everything expensive. "When did you remodel the house?" I asked, keeping my voice controlled. Claudia fidgeted. "Oh, a few months ago. Why? How much did you spend?" I insisted. She laughed nervously. "I don't know, Dad. Some things here, others there. Why are you asking?" I turned to face her. "With my money, Claudia. Did you spend my money to remodel your house?" Her mask slipped for a fraction of a second. I saw anger. Then she recomposed her smile. "What are you talking about, Dad? I didn't spend your money on anything. You must be confused." Confused. The word she always used. To disqualify. To make me question my own sanity. I took from my pocket the papers Mr. Mario had given me, put them on her kitchen table. 640,000 reais. Transferred from my account to yours. Want to explain this? She looked at the documents. For a moment, she looked like a cornered animal. Then, incredibly, she attacked. "You gave me power of attorney, remember?" she said. her voice rising. You trusted me to manage your finances, and that's what I'm doing. Managing isn't stealing, I yelled back. You sold my investments, took my money, put my house as loan collateral. That's not managing. That's a crime. Claudia crossed her arms. It's not a crime when you legally authorized me to do this. You signed the power of attorney, Dad. At the notary. In front of the notary public. You gave me total control. Now you can't go back just because you're having regrets. My heart was racing. Why? I managed to ask. Why did you do this to me? She looked at me with coldness I'd never seen before. Because you were going to waste this money living another 20 years alone. Because I deserved it. I who put up with you and Mum fighting all our lives. I who didn't have a real childhood because you were always working. I who took care of you when you got old. This money is mine by right. I stood looking at the woman in front of me and couldn't recognize her. She wasn't the girl I taught to ride a bicycle. Wasn't the teenager who hugged me when she had nightmares. Wasn't the young woman who cried on my shoulder when her first boyfriend broke up with her. She was a stranger, a sociopath with my daughter's face. You didn't have a childhood, I repeated, incredulous. Your mother and I worked to give you everything. Private school, college, trips, generous allowance. When you got married, we gave the down payment on your apartment. When your children were born, we paid for health insurance. We wasted our money living. Claudia, this money was for my old age, to pay for doctors, medicines, care if I need it. She shrugged. You're healthy. You don't need that much money. And if you need care, there's public health care. Public health care. After 50 years contributing, working, paying for private health plans, she thought I should end up in public health care, while she spent my estate on house renovations and luxuries. You're going to return every cent, I spoke, trying to sound firm despite trembling. Or I'll sue you, report you to the police, tell everyone what you did. Claudia smiled, a cold, calculated smile. You can sue, Dad, but you'll lose, because everything I did was legal, documented. You gave me broad and irrevocable power of attorney. Any judge will see that you consented. Consenting doesn't mean being robbed. She approached me. Want to fight in court? Go ahead. But think carefully. You're alone. Old. Without Mum. Without friends. Because nobody visits you anymore. If you push me away, you'll die alone in that house. Who'll take you to the doctor? Who'll keep you company on holidays? Who'll take care of you when you can't take care of yourself anymore? It was emotional blackmail. Brutal. Shameless. She was using my fear of loneliness, my growing dependence, my age against me. And it worked. Because she was right. I was alone. Helena had left. My few friends had died or moved away. My siblings lived far. Claudia was all I had left of family. I left that house devastated. Walked aimlessly for hours. Sat on a park bench and cried for the first time since Helena's funeral. Cried for the betrayal, for the lost money, for the daughter who never existed. Because if she could do this to me, who was she really? Cried for old age, for vulnerability, for the loneliness that allows things like this to happen. For days, I was paralyzed, too depressed to eat. Insomniac, with suicidal thoughts visiting my mind in the early mornings. Claudia had destroyed not just my estate, but my will to live. What for to continue? What for to age like this, betrayed, broken, alone? But then, in one of those sleepless dawns, I remembered something Helena used to say. Roberto, you were a bank manager for 30 years. You helped hundreds of people. You can't end your life being a victim. She was right. I understood money, documents, banking laws. If anyone could recover from this situation, it was me. The next day, I sought a lawyer specializing in family law and the elderly. Told the whole story, showed the documents. He listened carefully and then said, "Your case is difficult but not impossible. The power of attorney is irrevocable, but we can file a lawsuit alleging abuse of power, breach of fiduciary trust, and financial exploitation of the elderly. It'll be long, it'll be expensive, but you have chances." Expensive? I laughed bitterly. Claudia had left few savings for me to hire a lawyer to sue her, but I sold some things from the house. Furniture I didn't use. The watch Helena had given me, gathered 30,000 reais. It was what I had to fight with. The lawsuit was filed. Claudia was notified. Her reaction was to hire an even better lawyer and present a defense claiming I was senile, confused that she only managed the money for my good, that the transfers were for safe investments in her name, because I had asked. The legal battle dragged on. Hearings, expert assessments. Months turned into a year. Claudia spread to the family that I was senile, that I was accusing her unjustly, that she only tried to help, and I was betraying her. Half the family believed her. Relatives stopped talking to me. During that year of proceedings, I lived in limbo. The 3,000 reais allowance Claudia used to give me obviously stopped. Survived on my pension of 3,200. Paid essential house bills. Ate poorly. Rarely went out. Was isolated, impoverished, aged. Exactly what she wanted to happen. For me to give up. To beg for her to come back. To accept crumbs and be grateful. But I had Helena in my memory, reminding me not to give up. And I had anger. A cold, determined anger. It wasn't just about the money. It was about principle. For all elderly people who go through this and don't have the strength to fight. For all parents betrayed by children, they trusted. The medical assessment was crucial. Doctors evaluated me, did cognitive tests, interviewed neighbors and acquaintances. The report was categorical. I had no signs of dementia, mental confusion, or incapacity to manage my finances. I was a lucid person who had been manipulated in a moment of emotional vulnerability. The expert also analyzed the bank transactions, discovered that Claudia not only transferred the money, but did so in an accelerated way in the last 6 months, as if sensing she would be discovered. Sold investments at a loss to have cash quickly. Spent on renovations, trips, luxury purchases. Nothing that could be considered safe investments for me. 18 months after the lawsuit began, the sentence came out. The judge recognized abuse of power in the power of attorney, declared null all transfers and sales made without my explicit knowledge, determined that Claudia return the entire subtracted amount, with monetary correction and interest. Also determined the immediate cancellation of the power of attorney. I won. Legally, I won. But the victory was bitter, because when we went to execute the sentence, we discovered Claudia had nothing left. She had spent everything. Her house had a gigantic mortgage. The car was financed. There were no savings, investments, nothing. Of the 640,000 reais, she had managed to spend absolutely everything in less than 2 years. The lawyer explained we could seize her assets, the house, the car, But that would take more years, and even selling everything wouldn't come close to the total value. My daughter had burned 50 years of my work on renovations, designer clothes, trips, and showing off. But there was a small victory. Remember the 200,000 Riez loan she took in my name, using my house as collateral? The judge also nullified that loan, determining the bank should sue Claudia, not me. She had committed fraud by taking a loan without my real authorization. My house was saved. I managed to recover about 80,000 Riez. It was all that remained in an account Claudia hadn't completely drained. Added to the 30,000 I had saved and my pension, I had approximately 110,000 Riez to restart my life at 78 years old. From 800,000 to 110,000. It was devastating, but it was something. It was more than many elderly people in similar situations managed to recover. And I was alive, lucid, with a roof over my head, could rebuild, even if modestly. As for Claudia, she disappeared, moved to another city with her family, didn't attempt contact, didn't apologize, simply vanished from my life as if the 78 years we lived as father and daughter had never existed. Today, 2 years after the sentence, I live radically differently. Don't have power of attorneys anymore. Don't trust blindly anymore. Learn to use internet banking, apps, to manage everything digitally. Have a new accountant, a new lawyer, and check my statements weekly. I also joined support groups for elderly victims of financial exploitation. Discovered I'm not alone. There are thousands of people going through or who went through what I went through. Parents robbed by children, grandparents manipulated by grandchildren, elderly plundered by caregivers. It's a silent epidemic because it involves shame. Shame to admit you trusted the wrong person. Shame of having been stupid. I give talks now at banks, community centres, senior groups. Tell my story. Teach warning signs. Explain how to create limited and safe powers of attorney. Show the importance of maintaining financial independence while possible. Guide families on how to help elderly parents without taking total control. My financial life will never be what it was. Won't leave significant inheritance. Won't travel the world as Helena and I planned for retirement. But I have enough to live with dignity. Have my house. Have my health. Have my purpose of helping others. As for Claudia, I haven't forgiven her. Maybe I should for peace of mind. But I can't. Every time I think of her, I remember the coldness in her eyes when she said I would waste the money living another 20 years. As if my continued existence were an inconvenience. As if she were just accelerating the inevitable. She stole more than money from me. Stole my trust in family. Stole my peace in old age. Stole the chance to honor the legacy of 50 years of work. Every cent Helena and I saved was conquered with sacrifice. Weekends working, postponed vacations, denied luxuries, all to have security in old age and leave something for our daughter. And she threw it all away. But I learned something important. Learned that trusting doesn't mean being stupid. I didn't err by trusting my daughter. She erred by betraying that trust. The fault isn't of those who trust, but of those who exploit that trust. And I learned that starting over at 78 is possible. Difficult, but possible. If you're reading this and are a son, daughter, grandson, granddaughter of an elderly person, think very carefully before asking for total power of attorney. Ask yourself if you really need it. if it's for their good or your convenience. Maintain absolute transparency. Show statements. Explain decisions. Preserve their dignity and autonomy while possible. And if you're elderly reading this, never, ever give broad and irrevocable power of attorney. Not even to children. Not even to those you trust most. Create limited, specific, revocable powers of attorney. Maintain access to your accounts. Check statements. Don't give up control of your life because someone says it's for your good. I look in the mirror today and see a different man from 2 years ago. Thinner, more tired, with deeper wrinkles. But I also see a survivor. See someone who could have given up and didn't. Someone who could have let themselves be destroyed and chose to fight. I don't have my daughter anymore. Probably never will again. She made choices that placed us on opposite sides of an abyss that can't be crossed. And I've made peace with that. I can't control who she became, can only control how I respond. I choose to wake up every day and find purpose. Choose to use my experience to protect others. Choose to live with dignity, not with bitterness. Choose to honor Helena by being the person she admired. Strong, ethical, resilient. My bank account is no longer impressive, but my conscience is clear. And at the end of life, that's what matters. Not how much you accumulated, but how you lived. Not who betrayed you, but how you survived the betrayal. I'm 80 years old now. I've lived a lot, lost a lot, but I'm still here, still fighting, still alive. And that, after everything, is a victory. If this story impacted you, leave a like to help others find this comment. Would you forgive or never forgive? Share to protect other families from this nightmare. Subscribe for more true stories of survival and justice. Next video, another shocking case of elder exploitation. This epidemic must be stopped. See you in the next story.